Look at the confetti. That was the picture you had on your screensaver was the confetti from 2 years ago. How does that look?
Still processing it.
We're back with more Judson Richards on Sports Radio 670 The Score.
You know, sometimes when there's a big game, right, a national championship game, sometimes I stick around to see the interviews afterwards, and sometimes I don't, whether you have to go to bed or otherwise. I am really glad I stuck around to watch some of the aftermath of the Philadelphia Eagles winning the Super Bowl, because I found that to be a very powerful interview there, and Jalen Hurts was honest. He was almost speechless of what happened, and I didn't know this, that his lock screen, the photo on his lock screen on his phone for 2 years was confetti falling down around him. Although it was for the Kansas City Chiefs when they won the Super Bowl. Him on the field, his head down with confetti falling down, and then there he was doing an interview with Aaron Andrews, a Super Bowl champion. He played a brilliant game. I mean, now he had a ton of time to throw, but every time he needed to drop one in on a receiver, racing down the field, he was spot on accurate. And so that was his motivation. That wasn't there for 2 months. That wasn't there for 6 months, 2 years. That was the lock screen photo on his phone of confetti for the Kansas City Chiefs as he lost his Super Bowl. And so that to me was just a man who took adversity and used that to become the foundation for success and to keep on grinding. And so that brings me to Caleb Williams. It's going to be a really interesting offseason for Caleb, right? Because he's going to hear plenty about Jaden Daniels. He's also going to hear plenty about Bo Nix, who ended up taking a team to the playoffs his rookie year. The pressure isn't going to lessen for Caleb. Not only is he the number one overall pick, he has now gotten who a lot of people consider to be the best offensive mind in the game. So the pressure doesn't go anywhere. Oh, by the way, he's also a starting quarterback in the NFL, and people are going to have him under a microscope. Point being, if he needs similar motivation out there, like Jalen Hurts had it and used it, there is going to be plenty for him all offseason to choose from. And so my tease to break, a lot of you probably like, well, what are you talking about? His rookie season couldn't have gone any better because he didn't get hurt, right? So he now knows how difficult it is. This is a quarterback who said he wanted to win more Super Bowls than Tom Brady. Right? Caleb didn't say, let's start with one. He immediately pointed out Tom Brady. Now, listen, Caleb needs to be uber confident. He needs to be the alpha male. He needs to believe that he can be that great. But now he has a real understanding of what it's actually like. And so if you combine what has transpired, him getting Ben Johnson, who I think incredibly highly of, and I'm not alone there, combine that with him having the adversity and now knowing, okay, my natural ability is not going to take us to where we need to go. I now know the brutality of the NFL. I now know that me, Caleb Williams, who was an immediate star in college football, is not going to just be able to roll out there and get this thing done. I'm not going to be able to scramble around. I'm not going to be able to create. I'm not going to be able to just do it my way, and it's going to work. He knows firsthand that the adversity is going to have to be the foundation for his success. Listen, I'm not an old man. I'm certainly not a young man. I'm 44 years old. So I have lived long enough to know that times that I have felt rejection in my life, actually, when I look back on it, I go, you know what? That was one of the best things that ever could happen to me. I was going through my saved emails the other day. Robbie, you ever go through your saved emails and stumble on something from years past?
Yes, and then I cringe, like, oh my God, that was me, or oh God, this email was really mean towards me.
Okay, well then you took the words right out of my mouth. I was looking for an email that I needed, something financial wise. I needed to make a payment on something, and I stumbled on an email that I received when I was looking for my first job in sportscasting. So this was 2008. And this is when I was applying for jobs, snail mail and email, all of it. And I was aggressively going after that first job. And so there was a job in Montana, Little Market, Montana. I don't know why I wanted so. I love to fly fish, I'll be honest. So I thought, hey, I can start my career there. I can still get out in the mountains, down the river, and have some outside time. And so I followed up. Right, I sent a snail mail, I sent an email, and I followed up. And I asked, did you have a chance to look at my demo, look at my reel? And so this news director, this was for a sports television job. This news director got back to me, and he said, you want my honest opinion? I'll give it to you. He said, I like your look, but you sound like you're about to nod off. And, boy, that stung. It really stung. He didn't say, you need to pick up your energy. He didn't say you could use more vocally or be louder. He said you sound like you're about to nod off. And that was one of those where, it kind of hits you in the gut. You get the butterflies and I felt it for the rest of the night. But if I'm being honest with you, I woke up the next morning. I didn't disagree with him. Because what is that? That's nerves, right? Oftentimes, some people go louder, some people go faster, some people slow down when it's their nerves. And because I didn't disagree with them, I went back out there and I redid my entire demo. And I went to all of these random locations and I wrote out scripts of the places that I were, whether it was football, basketball, baseball, otherwise. I just came up with different stuff and I went out there and I redid it. And I amplified myself. You go over the top to where you feel kind of silly, but then you watch it back and go, oh no, that doesn't look silly. I just was too quiet before. And so that was the demo that ultimately got me my first job. I got a job a month and a half later because I took that rejection, I took that adversity, and it propelled me to be better. So when I say adversity is the foundation of success for Caleb Williams, boy, he knows what the NFL is like. I mean, he was, 8 sacks away from the most all time. When I say his year went great, it's because his leg wasn't snapped. And so when Caleb, goes to his house and he's got a Heisman Trophy sitting somewhere, that must feel 10 years away from that much success. They lost 10 consecutive games, and Caleb started all of them. So if he needs motivation, all he's got to do is probably open his phone. I'm sure someone's probably sent him some stuff. But if he needs it, it is right there in front of him. But I think that Caleb, watching the way he conducted himself, I think that he's going to use this adversity, right? Maybe he had an extra trip plan. He said, you know what? I'm going to keep working harder. But just that little bit more with the year that he had could ultimately make him a better quarterback in year 2. I thought this was really interesting from Jordan Palmer on Rich Eisen. Jordan, brother of Carson, spends a lot of time around these young guys with Elite 11. He knows Caleb Williams. This is what he said.
He's done some fashion stuff, and he's had painted nails. He's had things that we've talked about outside of football, but that dude works like anybody. That guy works as hard as anybody. I think Caleb and Ben Johnson and Ben coming in and taking, here's what's worked for Jared Goff, but now think about it, it worked for Jared Goff and some great pieces in that Detroit huddle, but now he's got a guy with essentially top-tier mobility.
Can't wait to see it. Cannot wait to see it. That was Jordan Palmer on the Rich Eisen show. Although I will say, the future for the Bears should not be about Ben Johnson making Caleb Williams great. The future should be Caleb Williams becomes a great quarterback. And it's because Ben Johnson helped put him in a place to succeed. This does not start with Ben Johnson. In my opinion, an NFL team's greatest success, it starts with the quarterback. Now, a great head coach helps because you got a defense, you got a special teams, you have to have a great overseer. And if they're an offensive mind, awesome. But it starts with the quarterback. A reminder of why Tom Brady at the Super Bowl, this was him with Colin Cowherd talking about his Super Bowl experience.
I was 2 weeks of watching film. Friday night, I was just going through the film more. I knew Kansas City's defense better than they knew themselves. I knew their body movements, the way their linebackers moved, the way their safeties moved. That's where I was great. That's where my magic superpower was.
I don't love Tom Brady on my broadcast. I will listen to Tom Brady talk about his career all day and all night. I'm fascinated by his time in Michigan because he couldn't really even earn a starting job his last year, his senior year in college. Tom Brady went to college to learn about football, not necessarily play football. And I think that's what made him great. But to that soundbite, he called it his superpower to know exactly what was coming at him. That's not a superpower. He told you how much work he put in. Superman didn't have to learn how to fly. Superman immediately knew how to fly. That's why it's called a superpower. One of the things that's impressed me most about Tom Brady is no matter how rich and famous he got, including his supermodel ex-wife now, he always put in the time. Why? Because he was trying to live up and build his own legacy. So the best three quarterbacks last 20 years, not named Aaron Rodgers for this point specifically, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees. Let's put those guys in the draft with Caleb Williams last year. Who goes where? I mean, Peyton Manning looked like you couldn't break a pane of glass with his arm. Tom Brady went in the 6th round. Drew Brees went in the 2nd round. So those guys without the athletic ability had to have what Tom Brady called superpower, but it's not. They just had to know more about the game of football. So what I want is to combine those things. I want Caleb Williams' athleticism, his smarts, by the way. I think he's a very intelligent guy, but the work ethic, the time put in, that is what separates the great. It is not a superpower. It is the ultimate work ethic. And that's why I say the Bears' success will be decided by Caleb Williams next to Ben Johnson. Not Ben Johnson putting him in a place to succeed. It all starts with the work. Coming up next, one-star NBA player says NBA is boring. Is he right? We'll tackle that coming up next.